Good evening, folks. On this rainy, cold evening, it's nice to see everybody here, and I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m., and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, folks. I would entertain a motion for approval of the November 19th meeting minutes. Motion made by Mark,
Second.
seconded by Gary. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Abstentions? One abstention. Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment, either in person or online? Okay. Real quickly, I emailed out to the board. I CC'd Lauren and Dr. Gamero on the proposed committee assignments. As I said in the email, I kept board members who had been on committees before November on the same committees unless they asked me to be removed or changed. And I added the newly elected, recently elected board members to the committees that they had requested. I hope you all got a chance to look at that email that I sent yesterday. What I hope is that we can move forward into 2026 with the new meeting agenda, the new meeting schedule that we adopted at our last meeting, where all of these committees will be meeting on Wednesdays. We're going to endeavor to have each committee start out the new year setting some priorities for the 2026 year and report back when they do their next reports to the board what their priorities are. The staff who are assigned to the boards may have, including the superintendent, may have also have some suggestions on that, but that's to work out with the committees. And if anybody looked at that committee list and wants to make some change, please let me know in the next week or so that I can update that list, because Lauren needs to put it on the website with the current list of who's on which board. And I want to remind folks that even if you aren't assigned to a board, to a committee, you are absolutely welcome to attend any committee meetings that you would like. We're not trying to be exclusive. And then finally, I just want to say that later on the agenda, under action items, we could add an item to suspend or discontinue the ad hoc elementary school consolidation committee. There's no need to have that committee at this point in time until such time as we decide to revisit that issue and decide that we need to have such a committee. Otherwise, that work can be done through the existing committees, but it would be good to take formal action on that so we can remove it from our list of committees, and also we can adjust the calendar so that it doesn't imply that we have that committee in existence. In the calendar that we approved last month, it has it as school planning and design / elementary school consolidation, and we might want to just change that. So just think about that while we're meeting this evening, and we can add it on later on in the agenda. Thank you. So now we're going to go on to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to be sharing with you an update on our attendance, our discipline data, as well as some upcoming events. And we have a special presentation from Notchog Elementary. We have some members here of the school community who are going to be presenting. As a reminder of areas of focus for the 25-26 school year include ensuring that our students are coming to school on a daily basis, and so that they can learn, making it engaging learning, having challenging and supportive instruction that includes rigorous grade level standards driven instruction with supports that students may need, as well as creating an environment where students feel welcome and safe and students feel included, respected, challenged, so that learning can occur. And so the presentation or the data that I'm going to be sharing is in alignment with our areas of focus. The first data that you have in front of you is our attendance data up to date. This is the district-wide chronic absenteeism data. And as you can see, the graph shows in the green the data from the 23-24 school year, the blue from the 24-25 school year, and the red is the current school year. And as you can see, we have seen tremendous growth and decrease in the percentage of students who are chronically absent in our schools. So you see that historically, if we look at the historical data, we have exceeded expectations for August and September, the month of November, and we're just starting the month of December. So the December data is not complete, but as you can see, we have made some gains in decreasing the percentage of students who are chronically absent to school. And in some schools, the data is the best that we have seen since we started tracking that data in 2016. This is the attendance data by school. We track both the daily attendance rate as well as the chronic absenteeism rate per school. As you can see, we have seen improvement in the average daily attendance rate compared to last year. For instance, Windham Early Childhood Center has seen an improvement of 2%, the same as Notchog, North Windham by 1%. Sweeney has remained steady. We saw a 1% improvement at Barrows, Windham Middle School, 2% increase at Windham High. We did see a decrease at Phoenix Academy, and overall as a district, we have a 1% improvement. Now, if you take a look at our, can you go back, please? If you take a look at our chronic absenteeism rate by school, I have two sets of stars. The light green are schools that have made improvement. In the brighter green are schools that have made double-digit improvement in decreasing the percentage of students who are chronically absent. And so Windham WECC had a decrease of 8% in chronic absenteeism so far this year. Charles Barrows, 4.7%. Notchog Elementary, 13%. North Windham, 2.3%. We did see an increase at Sweeney of about 3%, a decrease at Windham Middle of 5.4%, even though they have over 170 students new this year. Windham High, again, double-digit gains of 11.6%, and Phoenix Academy of 6.8%, and as a district of 5.5%. So we're really proud of the efforts that every building principal, every staff member, and of course our students and families have put in to ensure that this is a reality for us. So we're really proud of these gains. If you can go on to the next slide. Oh, do you have questions?
Are there any questions or comments, Mary?
Yeah, I'm just concerned with the numbers for Sweeney because we also saw that with respect to maybe some achievement numbers. So
Yes, I meet on a regular basis with the principals, and I actually met with her this morning. She's very concerned about the data. Her staff have come together and identified students who are at risk of being chronically absent. They have implemented some strategies that are definitely working. She does have a pocket of students who will continue to be absent due to individual reasons, and we're now going to focus on the students who should be in school because they don't have major barriers. However, we need to identify why isn't it they're not coming to school on a regular basis, and how do we ensure that they do not become chronically absent before the end of the year. And so we have identified who those students are, and she's going to narrow her focus so that she targets those students who do not have like a medical situation, or, you know, who definitely we can impact right now if we put the supports in place.
Katina?
Glad the attendance has improved, and special shout out to Windham High and Phoenix because of the age group that they are serving, teenagers. So I'm glad that more of the high school students are attending. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other hands. You can keep moving forward then, I guess.
This is an update on our discipline data. You have by school, the total number of actions for ISS and OSS, as well as the unique students. And then the last column is students who have been expelled. And just to clarify, when students are expelled, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're expelled for 180 days. Depending on the situation, they may be able to return for the spring.
Dr. Gamero, do you want to share with the board the changes that have been made in the process for expulsion that people should know about, I think?
For suspension, so if you go on to the next slide, you will see that if you look at our suspension data for September and October, it was in some instances similar or a little higher than last year. And a process that I have implemented is that in order for any student to be suspended outside of school, there has to be a conversation with me or with our Director of People Services if the students have an IEP or a 504, because we should be engaging in conversation about what are the situations, is there anything that we can do differently? Does the student need any supports? And does the situation warrant an outside school suspension? So as you can see, for the month of November, for Windham High School, there was a decrease in our outside school suspensions, as well as for Windham Middle School. Again, thinking of Windham Middle School, they have gained over 170 students this school year. So definitely we saw great improvement for October and November.
Paula?
Question that relates to discipline as well as absenteeism. For those students who apparently have a particular reason for not being able to be in school, and for those who may be chronically disciplined, do we have alternative programs set up so that they don't lose the time that they have to be out, if it's for medical reasons or for whatever personal reasons?
So it depends on the situation of the student, and also depends on the age of the student. So we, for instance, at the high school had a situation where a student we knew was going to be out for medical reasons, and we were able to set up something so that the student didn't lose instruction. But it really depends on the individual student.
Thank you.
Gary?
It may just because I'm new here, so I'm trying to get up to speed too.
Absolutely.
If you go back a slide too, when you're looking at the, for example, the total actions per school year, how does this, you look, if you take a total actions divided by a total number of students, how do we compare it to other schools, districts in the area and our peer group too? Because I don't know if this is good or bad, or if we should be improving or we should be applauding.
So we should definitely be looking at how we're doing as a district, and because students in different districts are different. So we should definitely take a look at where we were last year, how we started the school year, and look for ways of making improvement. The state does share data on suspensions for other districts, and it's usually a yearly data that we can compare ourselves to. But I think that we should definitely be looking at our own population. But once the state publishes those numbers, I can definitely make a comparison. Keeping in mind that, our population is maybe different than other districts.
Any other questions? Mark?
So in days of yore, out-of-school suspensions were done by the board. The board met with the student and made the decision. Now, since Adamoski's reign, we switched to have an outside or a lawyer or an independent do the out-of-school suspensions.
Oh, are you referring to the expulsions?
Yeah, expulsions.
Yes, okay.
So how does that relate to what? I mean, I look at out-of-school suspension, though you're talking about less than 2 weeks, so it's not an expulsion hearing?
So the expulsions are students who would need to get their education outside of the regular program.
Right.
So, but I'm not sure I understand the question.
So my question is, the OSS, I guess I have to reacquaint myself with the difference between out-of-school suspension and expulsion.
Oh, okay, yes. So, so in-school suspension are students who are removed from the classroom
Right.
for over 45 minutes. The OSS is students who are in outside school suspension, and maybe for a day, for half a day, for a week. And then expelled students are students who will not have access into the instructional program in Windham Public Schools. They may, depending on the age, right? Like they may go to Phoenix, they may get homebound tutoring, depending on the situation. Those are the students who go through that process that you expressed. They have to go in front.
All right, so the OSS is done internally.
The OSS is
And the
internally.
expulsion is, and the OSS is limited in terms of the number of days.
Yes, because then if you have a student who has excessive numbers of outside school suspensions, we may need to come to a meeting, a PPT, a 504, depending on the situation.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that information and that work.
Thank you. And this is the district data compared by year from 2023 all the way to 2026, with the understanding that we're kind of about halfway through the year. So the numbers that you see here are up to, I believe, December 5th. I'm sorry, the end of November, so which was November 25th.
Thank you. That's really noticeable change.
Our goal is to ensure that we are reducing the behaviors that lead to suspensions, because we want to ensure that students are engaged, the students are accessing the curriculum, and the students are, thriving in our schools. So there's a difference between simply reducing suspensions versus decreasing behaviors that lead to suspensions. So that's what we're targeting.
Katina?
I do have a question regarding the out-of-school suspension. Those 53 students have been, am I understanding this correctly, have been out of school suspended more than once?
At least a day, because if you see the total number of actions is 68, so you may have a few students who may have had 2 days of outside school suspension, but the majority of them received 1 day. 53 of them at least received 1 day.
So that the actions refer to the number of days?
The number
Number.
total.
Yes,
Yes.
okay, thank you. I was confused about that.
So that is also something to note, because as you can see, the number of days that are being assigned for outside school suspension is not excessive.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much, Dr. Gamero.
And if you can go on to the next slide, thank you. These are no, I'm sorry, the one previous to that. And these are the winter celebrations. I share this with you in the event that you have an opportunity to attend some of these individuals, and our principals, our students, and our staff are always happy to see members of the board and members of the community. And so I just wanted to share this with you. And on the next slide. It is my pleasure to present to you the principal of Natchaug School, Ms. Inamite, who is going to be presenting on their work on one of our focus areas, which is attendance. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Gamero. Good evening, board members. Again, I'm the proud principal of Natchaug School, Janine Enamite, for those new members that I haven't met yet. So thank you for having me. We're doing many amazing things at Natchaug School. I must say, we've got some representation out here. So thank you for being here, Natchaugers. I did see one online that slipped away. That's a big part of this work, David Sands, our social worker. But we're going to talk about, or I'm going to share a little bit about our attendance initiatives that we have been implementing this year. So I'd like to explain our theory on attendance, show that the data definitely tells a story, explain some of the strategies that are being implemented, and the positive impact that it is having. So our attendance mission in Natchaug School is we know that regular attendance is essential for student success. Each day in school strengthens learning, builds confidence, and supports positive relationships with our students, with their peers. By promoting consistent attendance, we ensure students have the greatest opportunity to grow and thrive. And this aligns with the district priorities. Natchaug School's attendance theory ensures that students have equitable access to instruction each day. Consistent attendance supports stronger academic outcomes, social emotional development, and long-term student achievement, reinforcing that shared responsibility between our families, our school, and the community. So the data, we have a laser focus on chronic absenteeism. This has contributed to a significant decrease over time. So with the 23-24 school year, we slid in at the end of June with 29.7% chronic absenteeism. The following year, 24-25, was 20.2, so dropped almost 10%. And this year, our goal is to come in at 10%. We came in November, the lowest that we've ever seen. Last year was 23.7, and this year we're at 10.95 at the end of November. And I'm proud to say that right now we're at 6.95. So we can continue into some more. Well, thank you. So you can take a look at the data there over time, August, September, October, November, December, over the years, and you can see the significant decrease in chronic absenteeism. And then we're also obviously looking at daily student attendance. So last year we were averaging 94%. This year, 96%. We've seen weeks that we were at 98%, 97%. We're literally talking about a handful of students not in school each day. So we do many different things. We have weekly action steps. We have an ATF, or attendance task force, that meets weekly to look at the progress and plan positive incentives. So we tell students school is better with you, so come to school, and you never know what great thing is waiting for you. We plan surprise whole school activities or grade level activities just to celebrate showing up. They never know when it's going to happen. It's short, it doesn't interrupt instruction, but it's fun and community building. So we do things like hallway dance parties, whole school recess, stop, drop, and read, stop, drop, and draw, stop, drop, and create, different things like that. We also have these large stuffed frogs that you'll see a picture of shortly, and they serve as an attendance trophy. We pick a random day, we look at attendance in every classroom where every student is there that particular day, the frog goes out. The kids love it. We call it the Bridget Brigade, and we just deploy them. And you'll see some of our leap funds at work there. If you look on the left, those are the attendance frogs, and they're about this size. They're fun to hug. They sit in the classrooms on top of a bookshelf and sometimes right at a desk. And then on the right, there is an example of a grade level incentive where we have some car mats. The kids are playing with cars, Hot Wheels, slime, Play-Doh, just having a good time. And then we also have our daily action steps. So we meet daily as soon as all the teachers have their attendance in, which is about 9:15. One of my social workers, Dave Sands, who was online, my two amazing admin assistants, Rose and Elmira, and our new family liaison that was just hired and started the work with us last month. We all sit together. We look at the students that are absent that day. We make personal phone calls. If we don't get an answer, we go do a quick home visit, check in. Do you need us to walk your student to school? What's going on? How can we support you? We also schedule parent meetings for those families that we feel maybe could use some more support or information. So we invite them to come in. So that's the daily work that we do to support the attendance initiative. And then we have our additional strategies. So at the beginning of the school year, we sent out an attendance agreement that explained our school attendance policy and also just the importance of attendance. Parents, went home, read it, signed it, returned it. We also have students tracking their own attendance, and that's something new that we're doing this year also. So we created a revised school calendar that makes it a little easier for them to color in. And each day, every student in the building colors in green if they're here in the box, yellow if they've come late, and if they're not there the next day, they color that day red. That allows for student accountability and agency, but it also gives a visual to parents because that's in their homework folder that goes back and forth to the school and home each day. Because oftentimes we had noticed in the past when we'd call a family and talk about attendance and we'd say, your students had 5 absences, they'd say like 5. It adds up and we don't recognize it. So when they see that, the parents can also track it and have, their own visual there. We've also hosted Set for Success breakfast workshops. So we created a presentation. We invited all families in the first week of school. And then we continue to offer these workshops for individual families that we feel might benefit from it. We personalize it for them. Sometimes we bring in the academic data personalized to their student to bring that into the conversation also. So the purpose of these workshops is to inform parents about the attendance policies, explain the importance of attendance, the daily attendance, and the impact of chronic absenteeism. We also talk about scheduling, appointments and vacations outside of the school calendar, and we stress the idea of adopting that school calendar as how you plan your family schedule for the school year. We also promote keep it in the singles, so keep those absences under 10 for the school year. And you'll see there, those are the strategies on the left there. That is one of the graphics that we show families in our Set for Success meetings. And that demonstrates how absences in kindergarten have a direct impact on reading scores in the 5th grade. So we find that graphic powerful, and we have many other ones similar to that we share with families. And then on the right, you'll see that is the homework folder that each child is coloring each day. So the positive impact of the improved attendance that we're seeing at Nat Jug School, we feel is all of these things. So improving the social emotional development of our students by building relationships, routines, and their confidence. Fewer behavioral challenges due to greater consistency, structure, and connectedness. I believe that you see that in our discipline data for Nat Jug. It's nil at this point. More efficient classroom instruction with less reteaching and smoother lesson pacing. When many students aren't out, teachers feel that they can just continue on and not feel the need to, continue to catch up students. More efficient classroom instruction, again, with that less reteaching and smoother lessons going. Stronger classroom communities where students feel a part of the group each day. Oftentimes when students are out, they have to, especially the little ones, have to kind of rebuild those friendships and social interactions again. Greater opportunities for academic growth because students receive full instruction and spend less time catching up. Better long-term habits, just in general, teaching good habits for life, being responsible and understanding school success. And then really just creating that joyful atmosphere that we are proud of at Nat Jug School, the predictable school environment where students know the routines and feel that daily momentum. And next, we have what we've created, a Natchog commercial. This is demonstrating the school climate and culture at Natchog School, and we believe, again, this is a result of the improved attendance at Natchog. So please enjoy a couple of minutes of our commercial. Natchog School is a joyful, welcoming community where we strive for every child to feel connected, supported, and excited to learn. We foster kindness, strong relationships, and clear expectations that help students succeed.
La escuela Natchog es una comunidad alegre y acogedora, donde nos esforzamos porque cada niño se sienta conectado, apoyado y con ganas de aprender. Fomentamos la amabilidad, relaciones fuertes y expectativas claras que contribuyen al éxito de los estudiantes.
Each morning begins with music, smiles, and warm greetings, celebrating the cultures and languages that make our community special.
Cada mañana comienza con música, sonrisas y saludos cordiales, celebrando las culturas y los idiomas que hacen especial a nuestra comunidad.
Responsive classroom practices and universal expectations guide students to be safe, respectful, and ready to learn in every space: the classroom, hallways, the playground, and the gap.
Las prácticas de Responsive Classroom y las expectativas universales guían a los estudiantes a ser seguros, respetuosos y listos para aprender en cada espacio: las aulas, los pasillos, el patio de recreo y la cafetería.
Our lunchroom curriculum promotes social skills, independence, and positive routines.
Nuestro currículo de comedor promueve las destrezas sociales, la independencia y rutinas positivas.
When students need a moment to reset, they visit the Lily Pad, home of Bridget Academy, a peaceful space to reflect, solve problems, and return to class confident and ready to learn.
Cuando los estudiantes necesitan un momento para reiniciarse, visitan The Lily Pad, hogar de Academia Bridget, un espacio tranquilo para reflexionar, resolver problemas y regresar a clase con confianza y listos para aprender.
School pride shines through in celebrations, enrichment activities, spirit days, and of course, Bridget the Frog, reminding us that everyone belongs.
El orgullo escolar se muestra en nuestras celebraciones, actividades de enriquecimiento, días de espíritu escolar y, por supuesto, Bridget la Rana, que nos recuerda que todos pertenecemos.
And because students learn best when they are here, we celebrate strong attendance, prize activities, and our Bridget Mystery Attendance Trophies.
¿Y por qué los estudiantes aprenden mejor cuando están aquí? Celebramos la buena asistencia con actividades sorpresas y nuestro trofeo misterioso de asistencia del recreo.
Natchog, joy is shared, growth is celebrated, and every day is a new discovery. We hope you stop in and see.
En Natchog, la alegría se comparte, el crecimiento se celebra y cada día es un nuevo descubrimiento. Esperamos que nos visiten pronto.
Thank you. So the pop-up incentives that I talked about, the last one that we did was called Stop, Drop, and Create. And I had seen an image after thinking about creating weaving our future together. So our students every student in the school received a popsicle stick. We all stopped at the same time. Michelle Dupuy and I got on a virtual assembly and everyone turned it on the smart board. Michelle explained what we were doing with the popsicle stick. And when we come to school, again, great things happen. And we're all doing this as a community. So we had a little fun. They all designed a popsicle stick and we created this, Weaving Our Future Together. And we'd like to present that. If you'd like to display it at central office, we'd love for you to have it. We also have a second one for Natchog School.
I would like the Board of Ed to stand up and give Natchog a standing ovation for this work.
Thank you. Can I answer any questions about attendance or?
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
First of all, congratulations again to you and your staff too. Two quick questions. Number one, in your attendance, just for me learning too. If someone is sick, is that accounted against their attendance, or is that?
Yes, absolutely. And also, one of the things that we've been teaching parents is parents are, the law allows them to excuse up to 9 absences, and there's also 2 more for mental health days. Many parents believed that those were okay, and then anything after that counted as an absence. An absence is an absence, right? When you miss school, you miss school. So we've, kind of changed the explanation on that, and so that parents understand that every day matters. And again, students are sick, and we talk about when we stay home, when we're vomiting, when we have a fever, we stay home. But when we have a cough or a sniffle, call the nurse, have a consult over the phone. Those are reasons that we can still come to school. If we have asthma and we have a pump, we can come to school. And so there's many learning opportunities that we've recognized, and that personal call to families every day gives us the information so that we're able to then give them information to support students coming to school when they're healthy.
So some people not coming in is just normal every day.
Right. There was one day we had one absence. We had everybody but one child. But for the most part, again, though, I remember when I became the principal several years ago, 20 absences a day was normal. Now we're looking at literally a handful.
Just one other quick question. Where did the Bridget come from, that name?
So Bridget actually comes from the Frog Bridge, and I did not create that. That was with Natchog for many years. The frog is our mascot, and her name is Bridget, and we've just kind of brought her more to life over the last few years.
Mary?
Yeah, I thought that was a great presentation. I'm very excited to learn more about a lunch curriculum because I didn't know about that. But I did want to say, and I have mentioned this before, because having had, kids who did have to be out, that we don't want anyone to feel guilty. And also it's actually an impossibility to have 100% attendance all the time. So I wouldn't want anyone to feel like, oh, you were out in our classroom, didn't win this. Also, the hospitals could not possibly schedule surgeries only in the summer. So I just would like to make sure that those children are acknowledged, and other tragedies that happen. I do think that there were absences probably that were not essential. But some are.
Absolutely. And we recognize that. And when parents say, again, someone's sick with a fever, definitely stay home. We call when they say there's a fever, we say we hope, they feel better. And then explain that when they're fever free for 24 hours, they're able to return. So we have those conversations too. And that's why we don't, talk about perfect attendance all the time. The trophy goes out when, we just happen to see, oh, this classroom, everyone's here, it's going in today. It doesn't impact the other rooms. That classroom sees that we earned it, and you never know when that frog is going to come out, and they get excited to see the frog.
Anybody else have any questions, comments? And kudos to whoever made the video. It's a beautiful video.
Thank you.
Very moving.
My wonderful music
touching.
teacher, Dr. Rivera, put that together for us. We wrote a script, and he always brings my
I
ideas.
see Elmira on the screen clapping. Good for you, Elmira.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's very inspiring, and I know that the kind of work that you're doing at Natchog is being talked about in the district, and that other schools can learn from this. So, and figure out their own way of doing the same kinds of things that you're doing. Dr. Gamero, it looks like you were about to say something.
Well, you actually just shared what I wanted to mention. First of all, thank you. I know it takes a lot of work and effort, and it's not just you, but your team who take a lot of pride in ensuring that students not only come to school, because it doesn't end there. There's, like you mentioned, there's a lot of joy, there's a lot of learning, and students know that when they're not in school, they're missing something. So they want to make sure that they're in school, with the acknowledgement, of course, that sometimes they need to be out. But I consider what's happening at Natchog Elementary School as something that it's like focused, and they are a model not only for our district, but for districts from across the state and outside of the state. I know that Ms. Enamite has shared her strategies with others, And her colleagues have also reached out to her to just learn about the strategies that are being implemented and how they can implement them in their schools, which is what we want. We want an environment where the principals and the leaders feel comfortable reaching out to one another and learning from one another. And I just want to thank you and the staff and the students, of course, and the families for everything that you're doing, because it is the foundation for our students to be present. So thank you.
Great presentation. And I see several representatives from Natchog School. If you don't want to stay for the full meeting, we completely understand. So now we're on to committee reports, and I'm going to hand it over to you, Mark.
Thank you. Well, we had the meeting of what was essentially be the last meeting of the ad hoc committee for consolidation. And we considered several options moving to the future. One was to try and do another referendum in late spring of 2026, or wait a year or so to do the referendum, or drop the proposal for a consolidated school totally and plan on staying in the current configurations. There was much discussion, I won't go into details, but there was much discussion about the options. And the committee has decided to recommend to the full board that the project still be reconsidered. And that in the meantime, the current ad hoc committee be put on hold or disbanded, and work continue within the Brendan's committee of whatever that was. So school planning and design. So basically is to have the board schedule some future time to reconsider the project and how to promote it and when we should go forth with it.
So to reiterate, Mark, one of Mark's points that we would have a full board discussion on this topic after the first of the year. We'll figure out when we can schedule that. It would be a working discussion that we can have at a board meeting. So stay tuned, because I'm sure there's a lot of information that we might want to pull together for that discussion about what might be next. Does that make sense to folks? Yes, Paula?
Lynn, just a question. I'm sorry I didn't make that meeting, but we don't know what our timeline, obviously we'll discuss that, but I guess I'm concerned that we take a really good look at the needs of our buildings at this point and really focus sincerely on what we need to make
Paula?
our buildings.
Yeah, we did talk about that last Thursday, and that it's really the charge of the school planning and design committee now to take a look at the latest update of the needs of the 3 elementary schools that we have was done in 2021. We have that report. We need to revisit it and figure out with central office staff and in guidance on what projects we need to move forward on. That is part of the equation, is educating the town and the voters about, if we're not going to do elementary school consolidation, what do we need to do to take care of our existing schools? And of course, when we have our discussion, we can talk about the timing if we ever want to reprise this question and how we could do a better job on it. So that's something we need to discuss as a board. But it isn't lost on us that now things that may have been put on hold need to be dealt with at the current schools. And we're going to hear from school planning and design. But thank you, Mark. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so now we're on to policy. I'm going to hand it over to you, Katina.
I suggest that Brendan goes next so we can have continuity, and I yield to him if that's okay.
I don't think anybody minds if we flip the reports.
The reports.
Okay, go ahead, Brendan, for school planning and design.
Thank you. We met, what was that, earlier this week? Yeah, 2 days ago, Monday. Mr. Harris provided a report for us. District-wide maintenance is preparing for inclement weather. They have all the equipment ready, tested, so on and so forth. He went over some minor things that have been done in the schools, exterior doors at Sweeney, some work on the heating system at Natchog, mini splits at North Windham, mostly all HVAC related throughout the district, making sure we're all set for winter. We had a quick discussion about the capital improvement funds that were approved for this year for Barrows regarding the rooftop units, and how that money is at this point is kind of there in reserve for when the units fail, as they're at their end of their life expectancy. So this way, we're not going to go out and spend it right away, but we have the money set aside so we can make those repairs that are, $60,000-$70,000 per instance as those units fail, and there's 15 of those units at Barrows. So, we could be looking at eating up into that quite a bit. We then discussed some proposed collaborative projects working on with the town regarding energy efficiency and solar at the schools. More information to come on that. And then we did have a discussion about the items on the capital improvement plan, mostly for the elementaries for the 26-27 school year. In discussion, most of what we really need to look at to keep these buildings open and, the next few years is the HVAC systems. There's going to be some extensive work required at Natchog, a good bit of work required at Sweeney as well. About half that school was updated 8-10 years ago, roughly. The other half was not. And then potentially some work down the road at North Windham as well, and possibly some energy efficiency work to keep the equipment that's there working in the best shape. He did at our November meeting give us kind of a list of what we absolutely need to do for 26-27, mostly at Natchog. We're going to continue to look at what the needs of the elementary schools are as we continue to keep them open, pending whatever happens with a consolidation.
Thank you, Brendan. Mary, you have a question or comment?
I couldn't get into that meeting, but so I was curious about the North Windham School roof because that leaked during one of the very heavy rainstorms. So I was, that's one that had been on a list to be replaced, and then we didn't do that. And the other issue besides, the heating at Sweeney, which is concerning, I thought we were getting an update about these solar projects. So when is that supposed to be on the horizon?
We did have a quick update on the solar projects at this last meeting, just that at this point, the town attorney is reviewing the power purchase agreements. So we should have, hopefully at the next meeting, more information on those. There wasn't much update this time around. As far as the roof at North Windham, we didn't discuss it this time around, but that is something we definitely need to look at. And actually, I'll reach out to Mr. Harris and talk about what we need to do to get that committee had been put on hiatus. And at least one, if not two of the other members of it aren't readily available anymore. So we might need to go to the town about reconstituting that committee and getting that going again.
Oh, I also forgot, I thought at Barrows, we were going to be replacing those units one by one, not
Correct,
waiting.
one by one. We have the money set aside so that we're not hitting having to go into operating expenses as they fail. But the money is, So that way, if one unit goes down, there's capital funds there to make that replacement, but we're not proactively replacing them at this point.
I have a question. You're talking about the projects that need to be done moving forward. We will, as we put together our budget, also need to present to the town, to the Board of Finance, a capital improvement budget. So I'm assuming you're working to prioritize in time for the March 15th deadline of submitting a capital
Correct.
improvement plan. Okay.
Yeah,
Just
it's
wanna
going to
make
be
sure.
an abbreviated list of the absolute essentials, mostly those HVAC items I mentioned, and then, we'll do some longer range planning going out.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, now we're on to policy.
Yes, we met this past Monday and we reviewed the Series 3000 in terms of gifts, grants, and bequests to the district. We decided to adopt or to recommend to the Board of Education to adopt the model policy of Shipman and Goodwin. This will be brought to you next meeting in January with some minor changes. Of note is that it includes the administrative guidelines, which will be reviewed, those by our superintendent, and other people can make recommendations also if needed and wanted in terms of those administrative guidelines, but we will vote specifically on the policy itself. The second item of our agenda was to discuss school uniform policy. Well, that policy has not been reviewed since 2013. And instead of coming up with our own proposals, we have asked administration to please come up with a process plan and a timeline to revise the uniform dress practices, which means to have then also discussions with all the stakeholders necessary to revise and come up with our own policy. So we expect that proposal of a process plan and timeline in our February 2026 policy committee meeting. And that was it for now. And we will have other policies to review in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. Those are the committee reports for this meeting, and we'll move on to discussion items. I just want to acknowledge that Mike Callahan is here to give us an update on the high school. We won't be much longer. We'll be with you soon. So the first item on this agenda is, on this part of the agenda, is the 2026-27 school calendar. We're not looking for a vote on this today. This is just to bring the information, review it today, give people a chance to think about things, and we'll be returning to this, hopefully adopting it in the early part of 2026. But Dr. Gamero, are you sort of walking us through this?
Mr. Neil Weathers is actually
Neil
going
is,
to come
okay.
up to the podium.
Good evening. So tonight we just presented two versions of the calendar. As you know, it's our job to come up with a version of the calendar and then present it to this board. And then at the next meeting, you look at it during this time, or perhaps you have feedback for us. And then at the next meeting, you decide. Tonight, we came up with two versions, and I'll explain why in a minute. But this calendar is very similar to years past. I'll just stick to version A and just talk about, we did something that we did this year that was voted on the board last year, where we have the 5th of January off for students because it's right before the 6th, and it just makes sense. We've noticed historically when we try to have that, we have low student attendance, which you just heard a presentation. We're trying to have our students show up to school, and having days when we know that they might be away celebrating Three Kings Day doesn't make a lot of sense. So this year there was a 4th and 5th before the 6th, Monday and Tuesday. So we've recommended in both versions to have that off. That's our recommendation, obviously, for you to consider. We just thought it made pragmatic sense to do so. Then the other thing we want the board to consider is, in the last couple of years, this year and last year, we've had 5 early release days for students. So we could attend to some of the professional learning needs that we have in the district, because we have lots of, not just things we want to do in the district, but we have state mandates and other things that take place. What we've noticed and maybe one of them is someone that presented to you about 20 minutes ago. During those early dismissal days, our student attendance has dropped significantly. So we have proposed in version A, which is the preference version for Dr. Gamero and myself, is we removed 2 of those early dismissal days so that we'd have 3. We didn't want to remove all of them because we do think we need time to have with staff in case there's something that comes up. So I think we did the earliest one and the last one. So those are the big changes. The only thing I do want to note is when I was looking at this before I spoke, and we'll clean this up and send you a correction in the on the right column, not in the actual calendar. The first professional development early release day says 8/24, which is actually before school starts. It should say 9/23. It's correct on the actual calendar. We will fix that and give you the correct version. But those are really, in essence, the only difference with version B is we kept all 5 early release days as we had last year. But our recommendation is to move to the switch to remove 2.
Are there any questions for Neil Weathers? Mary?
Yeah, I'm just also curious about the bus schedules with these early release days and how some schools do have them and other schools don't have them.
Well, when we do the early release days, it's for the district, so it staggers. So except for conference days would be the ones where it can be a little chaotic. We haven't noticed any, well, at least this year, we haven't received many calls as disruption, but we can monitor that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Catherine?
I just wanted to make a comment. It just looks like the Phoenix Academy is included on the calendar this year. I didn't notice it last year. And I just think that's nice to see that they're included on the calendar.
Thank you. And if anyone notices stuff in terms of like content like that, we're always trying to improve this. It's a live document. And sometimes when you work off an historical document, you can make accidental omissions. So I appreciate you bringing that up and acknowledging it.
Right, so if there are any comments or suggestions that people would like administration to consider, please bring them to the attention of Dr. Gamero, and she will be able to talk with staff and whatever. It would be good, though, if you did that before, say, the second week in January, so that when we come to our January meeting, we can have the best possible options for us to consider to take action on. Does that make sense?
And the only last comment, and I didn't say this, is I would say this calendar represents feedback that we've received over the last several years. So it's definitely like I would consider it, and of course, how easy for me to consider it's improved because I work on it, but like it's improved over time based on the feedback of many different people in the organization.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to hear an update on the Windham High School project status. This is something we had talked about at our last meeting, I think, wanting to hear more about. And I know Mary, who's on the committee, and other people have been meeting for a long time on this. And I guess I invite Mr. Callahan up to the mic to give us an update. For those of you who may not know, Mike Callahan has been the chair of the building committee for the high school renovation project. And that's a thankless job, and it's a volunteer job, and we appreciate all your work on this.
First comment, I should actually thank the Board of Ed because this project for me has actually been very beneficial. I retired just a year or so after the project, and it was actually a very, very appropriate transition. So I got quite a bit out of it. I actually did. but I am ready to be done. And I think Mary would join that club as well. So tonight, I'll just make a few comments, and then, of course, I'll answer any questions anybody has. One reason we are not done is because we've actually had some problems with the contractor over the duration of the project. We've been reasonably successful in managing those difficulties and challenges. We are getting very close. I would like to say we will be done soon, but don't ask me to define soon, just based on past experience. Having said that, and again, based on my years of experience in construction, it's not uncommon to have projects with what we call long tails. All those tiny, 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 tiny little things take almost as long as some of the most challenging parts. Now, having said that, that's not an excuse for what I'm going to go out on the record as saying poor performance by our contractor and some of our consultants. So there's really been some significant challenges. I'm not going to go into those details. I think the building committee has been managing those challenges. We are really ready to be done. So I'll tell you just very briefly where we are and what we have ahead of us. And then also, I'd like to say I'm glad you invited me tonight because we really are at the point where we're ready to hand the building over. And that means all of the things that go along with a brand new, very complicated building will now be your problem and not mine. So I've been warning you from day one about the need for adequate budget, adequate staff with the skills. And I'm here to express my appreciation. You guys hired a very capable HVAC technician in the last couple of months that I've gotten to work with him and meet him. He has performed admirably. So that was a very, very positive step. So having said that, there's going to be a need for appropriate budgeting, possibly additional service contracts for that building to ensure that the facility stays operational, it's maintained, and it's a beautiful facility. I think we all recognize that, but it's going to require continuing investment from the community, not just from the Board of Ed in terms of time and money, but the community in terms of support. And I think that's likely to come. So that's the realities of running a school and having buildings. And on that note, I want to say, when you're ready to talk about the elementary school and the options, I'm not volunteering, but I do want to offer to give you feedback in terms of experiences on the high school that might inform the decisions about how to proceed, when to proceed, and things like that. So I think we've learned, and Mary will tell you this, we've learned a lot on the high school project, and I think it's appropriate that the Board of Ed and the facilities at the school take those lessons and just apply them to the next project if there is one. So, okay, some of the open issues were primarily contractual and just getting the contractor to perform. There is one pretty significant technical issue remaining that the building committee will address before we finish the project. It's my goal, and I think it's appropriate that we turn over the operation of the building to the facility staff. And what I mean by that, not formally, there is a formal turnover where the Board of Ed, Lynn, you'll sign and it'll go to the state and it will really, the building committee will really be done. But some of the problems we've been having at the end of the project are because the contractor is still, they're not maintaining the building, but they're kind of running it. They're establishing temperatures and so forth. We need the school staff, and they've already started this, to really get in and start managing the system. So we're really ready to do that. We had a very productive meeting today. We identified a couple of open issues, worked through some of the minor technical challenges, but fairly soon, you guys are going to be in charge. You're going to have the key. You're going to turn on and off the lights. You're going to open, you know, the HVAC system, be responsible for maintenance, and things like that. So we really are that close. So I just really wanted to let you know we're getting there. I want to reiterate, this system in this building is incredibly complicated. You guys were talking about Burroughs earlier, the need to replace some equipment. Now Burroughs is really quite old, or not quite old, but older. There's going to be times, we already have systems that have failed in the high school. And people will say, well, it's a brand new building. Not really. We've been in it 3 years. So there's systems that are failing. They're out of warranty. There will be times where you're going to have to spend money. And again, I'll work with you to the extent that you need to help establish what's an appropriate maintenance budget for repairs and replacements going forward. Status of construction, almost everything is done. There really is not a heck of a lot. The punch list is whittled down to a couple of items. We're doing final inspection on the sanitary and storm water drainage system. We're doing final commissioning. We're still working out bugs in terms of temperature control. And unfortunately, the superintendent has temperature control problems in her office. And as you can imagine, how frustrating that's for me. When the contractor doesn't even realize if nothing works, the temperature controls in the superintendent's office should work. So we're kind of down to the nitty gritty. I expect, Mary, unfortunately, a couple more months for the building committee, but we should be there pretty soon. So in terms of questions, I'm happy to fill in you on any of the details, but either tonight or any other time. So you're welcome.
Oh, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Mary, you're on the committee. Is there anything you want to say?
Nope, Mike's been a great leader, so that's been nice, and I learned a lot.
Yep, we all did. So, okay.
Well, thank you for coming tonight, and I think we will behoove us to take you up on your offer.
Yep.
If and when we get to the point of discussing the elementary school consolidation. I know you've already come and met with us and talked
Yep.
to us about build as new rather than renovate as new, and
Yep.
things that you've learned in the you've already shared a memo with us on that. But also, we may want to take you up on your offer to help with the handover of certain, budgeting and things like that for the high school moving forward.
Happy to do that.
And seeing no other comments, I want to note that I saw your daughter in the Natchog video.
too.
She's a
I'm glad
wonderful
it came.
teacher, I hear, and you must be very proud of her.
I am. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right. So on that note, make sure you take care of the heating system at Natchog soon.
Okay.
That's for the benefit of my daughter.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussion of a request regarding the optional $500 early retirement notification incentive in the teacher's contract. There's been a request for that from a teacher who has met the criteria there that they let us know by December 1st that they're planning on retiring. So is there somebody who's going to walk us through this request?
Ms. Beck is not here this evening. She's ill. But the Board of Education has a contractual right under WFT Article 6, Section 6.8, to issue a $500 payment to any WFT members that submit an irrevocable letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement by December 1st. And this year, we have one member who's eligible. So the question on the floor is the board going to exercise that right in offering those $500 as an incentive to this individual?
Do people have any questions? This is the discussion part of it. There's an action item on the agenda tonight. Gary?
Does the superintendent have a recommendation on this, or is that not something you do?
I do not have a particular recommendation, no.
Any other questions, comments? Katina?
I think it's a great idea.
I mean, I think that the reason this was put in the contract and the board agreed to it was that if somebody wanted to give us that much warning and let us know that they were retiring, that's helpful for us. But also, if somebody is retiring, we also could potentially be spending less money with the rehire. Not that that's it's not that we are trying to force people out, but it is an incentive on sort of both ends. Paula, you've been involved in the contract negotiations.
Yeah, I think that, again, it was a financial decision. And something that, especially if person's retiring, chances are they've been with us a long time, and a little bit of a thank you is not a bad idea. But it is true that financially it helps us to plan, and it does give us a chance to have someone who has been here and maybe is at the top of the scale, who is most likely going to open up a position for someone who would not be quite as high on the scale.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, so I will be asking us to take action on this under action items then. The next item is the Windham Early Childhood Center grant application approval request. Is that you, Dr. Gamero, who's?
Yes, the grants that we have some teachers at WECC that want to apply for, they have been discussed. The audit, which one is the committee? The Finance Committee, is that the name of the committee? So these have been already discussed. It is a formality. We have to bring them in front of the board. But as you can see, they're looking for opportunities to create a basic needs closet for families in need. And I think there are great opportunities for us to, if we're able to get these funds, for us to be able to obtain them. So I would definitely encourage us to approve them.
Any questions? Katina?
I think this is a brilliant idea. But it triggered me in thinking that the caring closet once upon a time was called Athena's Closet. And Athena was one of our preschool children who was murdered in town in 2013. And I just wonder where that little closet was and what happened to it. And if the caring closet can remain also named after her, just as a memory for all the teachers that were there. I'm not requesting that happens. I'm just curious.
That recommendation.
Or that recommendation.
Or asking about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I venture to say there's nobody here who can answer that question this evening about what happened with the closet that was named after her. Or whether this could be morphed, it could be morphed into the name for this new closet if we get the award, So noted. Anything else? Okay, so now we're going to move on to action items. I would.
If I can just mention, I'm sorry to interrupt, there's two grants. So the second one is the Community Foundation of Eastern Connecticut Regional Impact Grant. And the goal of this grant is to support programs and services that help Windham residents achieve self-sufficiency. Applicants must serve one or more of the 42 communities in Eastern Connecticut, and the grants range between $1,000 to $10,000 for Windham-focused grants. Previous grantees have received funds for similar projects to the WECC proposal, and new applicants are required to contact that agency before submitting a proposal. And this is the first time that we are applying for this grant. And the last one is the Walmart Spark Good local grants. Walmart believes that investing in local communities strengthens our business as well as the communities we serve. Local grants are designed to support local organizations that meet the unique needs of the communities where we operate, build pride among associates, and deepen relationship with customers. Each year, Walmart, U.S. stores, Sam's Clubs, and distribution centers award local cash grants ranging from $250 to $5,000. Broad grant categories include creating opportunity, advancing sustainability, and strengthening community. And that is also a grant that we have not applied for in the past.
So there are 3 in total.
Yes.
Right, and they were explained in your packet, and Dr. Camaro just ran through them. Any questions on those, Mark?
Yeah, assuming we get the grants, who's going to administer the grants?
WECC.
So the ECC will do their own, they'll take the applications from families in need for the closet, and
Yes, they would need to do that.
they understand that's an added responsibility.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to action items. I would, back to what I said early on in the meeting, I would entertain adding a motion to add item D to suspend the ad hoc elementary school consolidation committee.
So moved.
Motion made by Katina to add this to the agenda. Gary seconded it. Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor of adding this to the agenda, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, it's added as number D. Okay, first item on the agenda is, on the action agenda is I would entertain a motion to approve the Windham Middle School field trip to Samuel Slater Museum.
So moved.
Motion made by Brendan,
Second.
seconded by Katina. Any discussion? The explanation, it was in our board packets. Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, I'll entertain a motion to approve Windham Early Childhood Center's submission of 3 grant applications.
So moved.
Motion made by Katina,
Second.
seconded by Paula. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, motion carries. I would entertain a motion for approval of a Windham Federation of Teachers contract request for the optional $500 early retirement notification incentive payment to the teacher who met that requirement.
So moved.
Motion made by Paula,
Second.
seconded by Brendan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carries. Thank you. And then finally, I would entertain a motion to suspend the ad hoc elementary school consolidation committee. Motion made by Mark, the chair. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Katina. Any discussion? Except I want to thank Mark and everybody else who worked on that committee. All those in favor of the motion on the floor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carries. And now we're done with our business. Is there any public comment? Anybody online? Or, oh, Cammie, come on up.
I think it's on, it's green. I'm Cammie Nyland-Poirier, president of the Windham Federation of Teachers. And I would just like to say thank you for voting to give the incentive. It's not me who's retiring. But thank you on behalf of our member who is retiring. That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
I wanted
will
to speak if that was okay.
who's,
I'm online
oh,
virtually.
you need to identify yourself?
Oh yeah, sorry. My name is Hadia Robinson. I'm an LCSW. I work with United Services. I just was looking. I don't know if this is appropriate, in this public comments, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about in relation to the school attendance and for the kiddos and the discipline actions like you guys were talking about earlier. I just wanted to offer ourselves as a resource. I'm with United Services, the Child Guidance Clinic, and I wanted to just see if it's appropriate to give my contact first so we can connect to get kiddos in, because we really focus on, school refusal and kind of focusing on the root of that problem to get and keep kids in school, and just seeing how we can support in any capacity with that when it comes to, the Windham public school system.
Adia, we don't usually go back and forth in public comment, but you could certainly send an email or contact central office and connect with Dr. Gamero through her assistant, Lauren LaBelle.
All right, perfect. I will do that. Thank you so much for the space.
Thank you. And thank you for the work that United Services does in the community. Anybody else who wants to speak during public comment? No? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:21.
I move, we move.
Meeting adjourned. We'll see you all in January 21st is our next board meeting.